We're live.
Okay, so welcome everybody. So today we are going to go island hopping around the island of Ireland, and there's some properties you can stay in. There's a lighthouse you can stay in. There's an island that's fit for a king, and we're going to visit or see Skellig Michael, famous due to Star Wars, but very popular with the Irish people before that. And then other places we're going to go is Blanamara, where you can go in Inishcoo, where they do a lot of different things with seaweed, and then to an island in Cork as well. So we've got Rachel and Gio on the team from Aran and Butler. So let's start off in a place that we love so much, that's the west of Ireland. So maybe Gio, we go and visit Pádraig and Pádraig. Two different spellings, similar names in the west of Ireland, and learn about the Aran Islands.
Hi, Pádraig, you're live.
Hi, Gio. Hi, Siobhan. Everybody in Adams and Butler and all across the US. You might know me from some of these fam trips. So
Pádraig,
if you don't,
is it really looking like that at the moment?
Yeah, it is. It's fabulous. It's absolutely
That's
fabulous.
That's what the Aran Islands are looking like at the moment.
Yeah, so Cora's on camera here and she's going to do a full panoramic of the walls. So you'll be amazed, we'll say, at the stone walls that you see, and which are, I suppose, unique to the Aran Islands, the limestone walls. You'll get them on all three islands. And then to the south is Kerry, and then to the north here, when we zoom around, you'll see the 12 bends of Connemara. So that's right across to Connemara. And then slightly more to the right, you're going to see Galway City. So just to tell you a little bit, and then of course behind us here, well, actually we'll reveal that later. So just to tell you about location-wise where we are. So the Aran Islands, there's three of them: Inishmore, Inishmaan, and Inisheer, meaning Inishmore, the big island, Inishmaan, the middle island, and Inisheer, the easterly island. So they're Irish language names. All islands are visited by many visitors. Access-wise, you can come by ferry or you can fly. So most of the clients with Adams and Butler, we tend to fly. It's only an 8-minute flight across to each of the three islands, and there's regular services, or you can do a charter service as well. So the islands are very accessible from Galway and from Connemara, and also from Clare. So if you have clients in Dromoland or in Adair or Glenlow Abbey or any of the hotels, Ashford Castle, it's very, very accessible. So as I said, three islands, all with very unique personalities amongst the three of them. So as I said, I'm here in Inishmore today, but we do experiences on Inisheer as well. So Gio, I think, is a short video which is going to bring you through a typical day on Inisheer, and we'll be back to Inishmore once that's over. So we're back on Inishmore. So with me here today, I have Angus Hernan, as local as you'll get. And Angus and his brother Pádraig started a business early 2020 called the Aran Off-Road Experience. And if any of you have ever been to the Aran Islands, you see that there's a multitude of bus tours and, Jarvies, Pony and Traps, etc., that work on the island, on all three islands. But Angus and Porrick came up with a very new concept, and that's an off-road experience. And they call it the Aran Off-Road Experience. And you'll see the vehicle here behind us that you have. And basically, it's an off-road vehicle that can access a lot of locations that wouldn't be accessible normally by the other tour groups. So one of them, and Angus is going to tell us a little bit about it now, but one of them, for example, is the Powell na Béist. And that was made famous by Red Bull when they did their diving. So the international diving spectacular that comes from here every couple of years. And it's famous the world over because of the spectacular views and location of this place. So Angus, we're here today actually at the fort, at the highest point of the island. So you can see the beautiful views here in the background, as I was telling you earlier. But the fort itself, what's the story with the fort?
Well, the fort here is Donegal. It's one of 5 forts on the island. 3 of them are circular and 2 are cliff forts. Donegal, which is semicircular on the cliff edge. And these forts were built 1100 BC. And they were probably built by the first settlers that came to the island here. And the reason for building them was for protection. They would recede into these forts for protection during invasion or attack. And it's believed that if you pan across here, you can see it, that from each of the 5 forts on the island, the one right ahead in front of us here, there is a line of sight from this fort to the furthest fort west here. And the reason for that is that they believe that the people that lived on the island here, they worked harmlessly together, so that during invasion, they could signal each other under attack. And those 5 forts were able to talk to each other by smoke signals and fire.
And behind us here, then you have an old lighthouse.
An old lighthouse. This is probably in earlier time, newer times, was built in 1916. And this was built here on the highest point of the island. Now, it didn't last very long. It was only 40 years running for 40 years because it's so far inland. It's about a mile inland. It was very deceiving for the ships, and it caused them to actually run ashore. So it was decommissioned, where they built newer lighthouses at the very east side of the island and the further west point.
So I guess with your clients, Siobhan, and everyone in Adams and Butler, we're really looking forward to working with Angus and with Porrick, because they're going to create this very private and personal experience of the Aran Islands, where you can go off the beaten track and you're not necessarily mixing and mingling with the bigger crowds that go to some of the other forts. So with this vehicle here, they can travel over rough terrain. They can get you to places that you would never have access through any other experience. So we really are looking forward to this, and I think, Angus, it'll be a great addition to tourism here on the island.
It will be. For the month that we ran last year, we were getting great feedback from it. They were very, very happy with it. And we really put an emphasis on slow tourism, slowing things down, really taking in the experience and enjoying the island on your own terms, your own pace.
And another thing, guys, for any people that are kind of Hollywood buffs are interested in the island, there was a couple of films here. And one of the first films that were ever made in Ireland was a film called The Man of Aran, 1934, by a director called Robert O'Flaherty. And you have a lot of the locations, the original locations are still here on the island. But there was 2 other movies made here. There was one starring Amy Adams, that was called, The Matchmaker was the first one in 1997. And the other one was called Leap Year. Sorry, I'm not into rom-coms, sorry, but anyway. So all those locations here, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret now, folks. There is a big feature film going to be shot here in autumn of this year, featuring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. And it's one of the Martin McDonagh, the McDonagh family, that brought you 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Guard, all those great Irish movies that you might be accustomed to. And that's going to be shot here on the island in autumn. So who knows, guys, when you're over here, you might be walking on set, or you might meet some of those Hollywood greats. But yeah, the islands are open, and we're looking forward to welcoming all the visitors back again. And for now, we're going to sign off, and we're going to meet Jenny and Dave at the end of this virtual FAM, and you're in for a treat of island delicacies, seafood, all the best, right by the beach. So tune in later, and we'll see you in a little while.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pádraig and Roderick. That's something to bear in mind as well, that Ireland is very good at getting those old Indian summers that you have in America as well. So we have amazing weather in, August, but also in September, and sometimes, as far as the middle of October. So it's an area that you can still visit at that time. So for all of those who haven't booked a trip away, for your clients, just, suggest the West Coast of Ireland, because it truly is amazing, and it does, post COVID and what we've all gone through, it's the type of thing that, just is soul uplifting. So we're going to...
Just before we go, I just want to show a map, just for people to get an idea. So we were here with Pádraig here in the Aran Islands. So those are the 3 islands just off the coast of Galway, or you can take a ferry from Doolin, which is around here. And Shannon Airport is around here, and Dromoland Castle and all that. And now we're gonna go to...
And as Pádraig mentioned you as well, most of our clients would tend to get that little flight over.
Yes, it's an 8-minute flight over from Galway airport to there. And now we're gonna go to the north, and
west, yeah.
And this is our next location here. So we'll go over to Celia now.
A private island, and we only came across it just before COVID, Celia, when we talked for the first time.
That's true.
So tell us all about Inishcoo.
Right, well, Inishcoo is in one of the best kept secrets. Well, the area is one of the best kept secrets in Ireland, I think. Not many people know about the area around the Rosses of Burton Port. But anyway,
will we get the video on to start?
Maybe that's good.
Yeah, you can start the video. Yeah,
get a sense of place.
Just give me 1 second.
If you haven't already been bowled over by the view from the airplane and the approach into Donegal Airport, only 20 minutes drive away, and voted the most scenic airport in the world by National Geographic magazine 2 years running.
Yeah.
The magic definitely will start working on you as you leave the harbour in Burton Port, County Donegal, in the safe hands of Oscar Duffy, who will introduce you to Inishcoo and look after you throughout your visit. A few minutes boat ride brings us into and through the spectacular Rutland Sound, with its 16-foot tide and very strong currents, to the historic Inishcoo House, which commands a magnificent view from its vantage point overlooking the Sound on the southwest tip of Inishcoo Island. Inishcoo is one of the islands in an area known as the Rosses in County Donegal, the very beautiful northwest corner of Ireland. Situated on the Wild Atlantic Way, the islands of the Rosses are sheltered from the full force of the Atlantic Ocean by Aran Island, with its population of 500 people, and the Aran car ferries pass within yards of Inishcoo House. The whole area around Burton Port is in the Gaeltacht and steeped in history, which adds to its fascination. When you land on Inishcoo and enter the house, the enchantment really begins. Inishcoo House is 250 years old and was restored 10 years ago as an eco house, but still keeping the simplicity of an island house in the wilds of West Donegal. This is a magical place where precious memories are made, never to be forgotten. The incredible light and the wonderful clear air cause dazzling colours, sensational sunsets. With the islands having their own microclimate, it is quite usual to be basking in the sun on Inishcoo, with dark clouds sitting over Aran and the mainland. The house is partially dependent on rainwater collection, so rain is always welcome and rarely lasts all day. The local people are extremely hospitable and friendly. Fishing sustained their ancestors. Both deep sea fishing and angling tourism in the late 19th century became very fashionable. It is a joy to meet and make new friends in the various pubs and restaurants around, including the celebrated Lobster Pot in Burton Port, renowned for its delicious seafood, music, friendliness, and fun. There are many exciting things to do and see in Donegal, but we have often spent 2 weeks without leaving the islands. There are so many adventures to be had. The beaches of white sand are huge, empty and inviting, and so many of them that you can pick and choose a different beach every day. An expedition with Oscar to see the caves on the ocean side of Aran is a must, and very impressive and exciting. The water is so clear that it is a diver's dream. You could catch and cook your own lobsters and crabs. There are several double sea kayaks for pottering around the islands, many of which are a botanist's paradise. And around Inishcoo is a great place for paddleboarding because there are no waves. Or you can just put up your feet on a comfortable chair on the terrace on a heavenly day with a good book from the library and watch the world go by.
It's amazing. It's absolutely magical.
It is a magical place. It really is. And that's one of the things that our guests always say. It's just unforgettable, really.
And without mentioning any names, it's fit for a king as well, is it not?
Is it, sorry?
It's fit, without mentioning any names, it's fit for a king as well, is it not?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, so there has been a royal guest there as well. So it's really a hidden retreat, isn't it? Like it's really somewhere you can get and just like it's child friendly as well, in the sense of, you know, kids can roam
absolutely around. It's a real family. I mean, I would say it's at its best for family holidays, buckets and spades and boating and exploring, and but for adults too, there's all sorts of exciting things. You can diving and sea fishing and again boating all over. There's a lot to see. There are a lot of islands and all of the different characters. We are on pink granite, but Rutland Island right next door is all sand.
Yeah, and it's 250 years old, the house itself.
It is, yes, built by the Marquis of Cunningham. The Burton Port is called after Lord Burton Cunningham, who became the Marquis of Cunningham, who built a fishing town on Rutland Island, which eventually got covered with the sand when the herring stopped coming. I don't know why the herring stopped coming, but they did stop. They went elsewhere, put it that way, and the fishing industry slowed down then.
And you've got good availability if people want to book it for August onwards. How are you for availability?
Not a lot of availability.
Mm-hmm.
Filling up fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there probably are some short lets which would leave part. If you wanted to come for a whole week, I think you'd be good.
Yeah, but people could combine it. You know, if there's a gap, they could combine
Yes.
it in an itinerary of Ireland.
Yes, exactly.
But I think it's so, like, as you said, it's perfect for families, but also for those people who want to get away from it all and just chill.
It'd be wonderful for a writer or something, writers or a writer's seminar or something like that. It's so peaceful, and yet you don't feel cut off because, as I say, the ferries go right past and they're very busy in the summer.
And then you have caretaker, stroke boatman, stroke grocery getter, stroke look after you person.
Oscar's a legend.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks he's wonderful, and he is wonderful. But he is also he's been the Irish champion curragh several times.
Wow.
In a 3-man boat.
So just there's questions coming in the name of the lodging. The actual island is privately owned and it is called Inishcoo, both the property and the island.
Yes, well, 7 acres of the island belongs to the house. It's all surrounded by beautiful pink granite walls.
Fantastic. And then the other thing as well that you mentioned, which is very important, because like even this week, we got a lot of requests from people who are looking for more conscientious or responsible travel, like, you know, sustainable travel. So the fact that it's eco-friendly and it has been managed with that in mind is very appealing to a lot of our clients as well, I think.
Yes, yes. Because you can't go mad on the water, but we do have a freshwater lake, and we have, if we need emergency supplies, if we can get them, we can start tapping the lake.
Yeah.
We have electricity, mains electricity and terrific Wi-Fi, but mains water we do without. We have drinking water dispensers, and we get drinking water from a mountain spring. So
brilliant. And how many people can stay? And like, what's the maximum? And like, it's the type of place though that 2 people, if they wanted to get away from it, could rent as well. But what's the maximum you can take in the house?
Well, I can tell you it's got 4 double bedrooms, comfortable double bedrooms, plus, so that's 3 of them have got a single bed in as well. So you could have couples or two singles, so to speak. And then we have two big, very comfortable double sofa bed and two single rooms, one of which could be a small double, and 8 children's mattresses in the attic, which dormitory, which they absolutely adore, the children.
So really, it's perfect if you have, say, 2 smaller families or 3 smaller families traveling together for an informal, you know, family meetup sort of with, you know.
Well, I have four children, all with spouses, and 12 grandchildren, and myself all go together, and we fit in very well.
Brilliant. So that's 8 plus 12, that's 21 people. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. That's brilliant. Best time of the year, I'm assuming, will be April to early October.
Yes, even, well, actually, the weather can be beautiful in November as well. And you risk it a little bit, perhaps in December, although we've always let it for New Year's Eve, people take it, and so far so good. Brilliant. The thing is, it's not rough going out there, it's inland waters, so they can be a bit choppy sometimes, but you never get waves.
Brilliant. And then just the questions that are coming in, the minimum amount of nights. Well, normally, you know, if it's available, you know, you can stay 2 nights, provided, you know, you're willing to pay the price for 2 nights. So, you know, I don't think that's something people have to worry about. At the moment, there are the gaps that people can fill. And then for next year, you'd have, you know, lots of availability for weeks, I assume, at this stage.
People are sort of booking a year ahead nowadays, I think.
Yeah, and they should, because the pent-up demand has been transferred from this year. I think all the questions there are answered. Regarding the testing, we'll come back to that one, because that's not, testing is very easily available in Ireland and Scotland. So there hasn't been issues for our clients who are traveling. We've got clients traveling at the moment in Northern Ireland. The hotels in the south open up next week, but the hotels in the UK, I believe they've opened up already, or are they opening up in the 6th?
They have, yes.
They've opened up already. So it's just, everyone thinks just opening up now, but so far there hasn't been difficulty getting testing, because each hotel is aware of where the nearest place to test is if people are going from one country to another. So that's brilliant. Thanks again, Celia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm delighted that a lot of people seem to be as gobsmacked at the beauty of the island and the area as we were in Adams Butler. So we're going to move on. We're moving on to Clare Island, and there's something special that Clare Island has. How are you, Roy? Is that how you pronounce it?
Roy, yes, yeah. Well, Clare Island is in County Mayo, and it's in Clew, which is north of the Aran Islands.
I'm just going to get a map 1 second to show everyone where we are now. So there's Clare Island there, just north of the Aran Islands where we were earlier, and south of Inishcoo where we were just a second ago. So back to you.
And we're the largest island in Clew. We're about 8 kilometers wide by 6 kilometers north. It takes about 1 hour to walk up to the lighthouse from the quay, but we do pick you up by taxi, so you don't have to bring your little wheelie bag with you. We opened in 2013, so this is our 9th year, and we're a boutique guest house. But this year, for the first time, we're opening all year round for self-catering, minimum 2 night stay, because we have a caretaker that will live in. So that's really exciting, because lots of people, it's really due to demand. Loads of people would love to come in the winter time. And I think I might advertise it as storm chasing weekends. So I see that's very popular in Canada. And it takes about 20 minutes to come by boat from Louisburg, which is near the very famous town of Westport. And it's won the best place to live in Ireland 2 years in a row. It's a beautiful planned town, and it was built to service Westport House, which is a very famous historic house. Now, Clare Island Lighthouse was built in 1806, and I'm going to climb out the little hobbit door here. Bear with me for a second. I'll climb out. And we actually have, I'll switch it on. Now,
So now you're looking south towards Galway, the Aran Islands, and it's one complete compound. And then straight across the bay, Clew Bay, you have Crowpatrick, which is Ireland's famous holy mountain. And then if I pan it around Clew Bay, you can see the main lighthouse building in the background. And now we're looking over towards 6th, and due to a fire, it got burnt down and it was replaced by this lantern tower here in 1820. It took 5 years to restore it, and yeah, and it's been a fantastic success. Everybody said at the beginning, you're totally crazy, nobody will go there. But we have no availability left for this year, except for the self-catering starting in October. I haven't really pushed that yet, but I think it should go okay. Now, if we're looking straight across to Achill Island, and on a clear day, you can see Boston nearly. So that's straight out, straight west. It's famous for Mayo. She was 15th century.
Roy, we lost you a bit there. Do you want to come back into the coverage and just tell us about our pirate queen?
Yes. So
we've still lost you. Maybe you better come back.
Granuel O'Malley, who okay, hold on.
At least we all know we're live.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. I was getting carried away with the views outside on the tower. So Clare Island, there's about 140 people living here now, but before the famine, 1,700 people lived here. And of course, it was absolutely decimated by the famine. And that bay that I showed you there earlier, that's where a lot of the coffin ships left Westport with the inhabitants of Westport, down the western seaboard. And a lot of those people, well, who made it went to America. And I think 2/3 died on the way, hence the name coffin ships. So the population is kind of steady now at 140. So, it would be great if they could increase that a bit just for the people of the island. And we went, what else going to say about it? Well, there's so much to say about it, really.
You were telling us about the Pirate Queen as well.
The island has one pub and it has a community. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
We can hear you. So you're saying that the island has one pub?
I think we might have lost her again.
And I'm just after saying there's good Wi-Fi.
Well, there was at the start.
I know. She'll come back. Roy, we're still, if you can. Okay. Well, should we go back to Roy later? I think she covered most areas.
Now I can hear you. Can you
You're
hear
back.
me?
Brilliant,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So tell us how many people you can take in the lighthouse.
We can, for the bed, breakfast and dinner that we offer in the summertime, we can take 10 people.
Fantastic.
And then for the self-catering, we probably could extend that to 12 and maybe 14. Because the problem is we have 9 rooms, but we need 4 for staff.
Yeah. And then just from a point of view of, I know if it was me, because I'm a person who loves going off the beaten track and visiting the bush and living in the bush. So I would be there for a month. But what's your ideal stay, do you think, for someone coming in from outside of Ireland, if they were incorporating it as part of an itinerary? Would you suggest 3 days or?
2 days. I would say 2 days is ideal.
Perfect.
That's a perfect length of stay. Because, well, people they can walk, they can cycle, they can visit the local pub, and they can just do absolutely nothing. It's a we don't have TVs, but we do have Wi-Fi most of the time.
Yeah, don't worry. These things always come to haunt us when we're doing the webinars. And just for people to know as well, if you're familiar with the Blue Book, the Lighthouse was a member of the Blue Book as well. And then you were telling us about Gráinne O'Malley.
Gráinne Whale O'Malley, yes. Yeah.
So tell us about it, because that'd be interesting for people to listen to as well about the Pirate Queen.
Well, she was a 15th century pirate queen. Her father was a big seafaring man, and she always wanted to travel in the ships, but because she's a woman, she wasn't allowed. So what she did was she shaved off her hair, and whale means bald in the Irish language. So she was Gráinne Whale O'Malley, and she stowed away, and then she took over the fleet. I think she had a fairly large fleet down the west coast. So they were in the days as well of the Brehon laws, and women were quite powerful actually, and they had very good rights, particularly as regards marriage. Seemingly in those times you were married for 1 year and a day, and if it didn't work out after 1 year and a day, you could call it quits and try again.
Brilliant. I think there's a lot of sound reasoning in that one. And wasn't she doing one of those battles when she was heavily pregnant as well?
That's right. Yeah, she was on board the ship.
Yeah, amazing.
Gráinne Whale O'Malley. Grace O'Malley is the pirate queen's name. And she's buried. We also have a 12th century abbey on the island, and about 15 years ago, by accident, when they were repairing the roof, it fell in and they found these frescoes, and seemingly they're the oldest frescoes in Europe. So that's really interesting, and they've done a fantastic job restoring that building.
Fantastic. So thank you very much, Foy. We really appreciate it. So hang on in case there's any more questions later.
Just got a very short video, it's just about 40 seconds.
Sure, brilliant.
Just to get an overview from the air.
For almost 2 centuries, Clare Island Lighthouse watched over Achill, Westport and beyond. Now, this heritage property offers sanctuary of a different kind, as unique boutique accommodation in Clew Bay, County Mayo. Clare Island Lighthouse, Ireland's great escape.
That's fantastic. Thanks to you, and thanks, Roy, for that. It really is a fantastic property. And again, one of those hidden gems on the West Coast. So we're now going to the south coast of Ireland, and we're going to hear from Seamus in Cape Clear down in Cork. Hi, Seamus. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good. I'm just going to get a map. We can. Let me just get a map here first, so people know where we are. Just with the islands, I really want to give people a sense of location. So we've seen the Aran Islands. We went up to Inishcoo in the top. We're in Clare, and now we're back down all the way here down in Cork. And you're the southernest, most habited island in Ireland, is it?
That's right. We're the most southwesterly island in Ireland, and we're also the gateway to the Fastnet Lighthouse. And the Fastnet Lighthouse, we say here, it's like the Statue of Liberty. It's Ireland's equivalent to the Statue of Liberty, because when the boats were sailing to America, or not all of them, but most of them from the southwest of Ireland, they would pass the Fastnet Rock, and that was the last thing they'd see leaving Europe. And then the first thing people would see when they'd arrive in the United States, obviously, was the Statue of Liberty. So there's a great connection there. And just in terms of where we are, we're kind of at the corner. So at one side, we're in County Cork, but north of it is County Kerry. So we're accessible from both Cork and Kerry for people coming for day trips from any place in Cork and Kerry. And one of the great things about coming to Cape Clear is that behind me is the mainland, and kind of directly behind me is the town of Skellig. But there's another little fishing village called Baltimore, and the ferries come from both Baltimore and Skellig to Cape Clear. So it means that you can come from both directions, or some people like to come from one and go out to the other. And then quite a few people then use it as a staging point for going to see, for doing a special tour around the Fastnet Lighthouse. And obviously I'm sitting here in Cape Clear Distillery, and just to prove where I am, I got my colleague to make me a nice gin and tonic. So just to share with you, this is my own product, and I have the first strawberry of the year from my garden is in it. So it's a little bit white, but I said I'd use it all the same. So, and Cape Clear Distillery has been operating for about 2 years, and it's something, just to kind of, we literally built it ourselves with our own hands, and we're very, very proud of it here on Cape Clear Island.
Great. I'm just going to show a short clip of the distillery, and then we'll come back to you, Seamus, just a second.
Cape Clear is Ireland's southernmost inhabited island. It lies 8 miles from West Cork, 3 miles from the solitary Fastnet Rock. The islanders are removed from the hustle and bustle of mainland life. We care about where we live. We work the land, fish in surrounding waters. We work hard to see our island thrive. Our distillery will be the southernmost in the world producing Irish whiskey. We have full planning permission, and our dream is soon to become a reality. Along with the visitor centre and cask store, this project is a perfect fit with our tourism industry. We are ready for the next chapter of our island's history. Join us on Cape Clear.
And I think the video is just a little bit old, isn't it? It's already at the moment.
Yes, the distillery is already up and running. We're producing gin, and we're building it on step by step, phase by phase. So we're starting on the next phase next year, which we hope will be a cask store. And so then we'll start maturing whiskey. But it was very good to see just Clare Island, because there's obviously great connections between the islands. And one of them is of course, that Cape Clear is the home of the O'Driscoll clan, and the O'Driscolls of Cape Clear and the O'Malleys of Clare Island and that part of the world are the two clans in Ireland that were based maritime, sea-based. So there has always been a great connection between all of the islands, people coming and going. And so I hope that more people will visit all of the islands in the years to come, because we have an awful lot to offer.
There's also fantastic history there, apart from, local clans, but also, help coming in from France and Spain, and, the North Africans stealing a village away. And there's so many wonderful stories and history that people will find interesting when they visit those islands as well.
Well, yes, indeed. And there's a very, very interesting and a very deep history on Cape Clear, and indeed on the other islands. And one of the things about this place is that there's quite a lot of very knowledgeable and interesting characters and people who can, take parts of that and explain it. So it's not just, it's the history, but it's also, there's bird watching and archaeology and whale watching. And we have some extremely interesting people who are just happy to share that with anyone who comes to Cape Clear.
Fantastic. Thanks a million, Seamus. So we're now moving on, back towards the west. And we're going to see Skellig Michael, and we're going to meet with Vincent. And Skellig Michael is an island that a lot of people will remember from seeing the image in Star Wars. So we have Vincent in a boat, Gio, don't we?
How are you?
Good.
Good. Yeah, it just so happens that we're bringing one of the boats down Kenmare Bay at the moment in the southwest of Ireland into position in an area called the oyster bed Park Nasilla. If you're familiar in Adams and Butler, and also for your fam people, welcome to South Kerry, and in particular this beautiful sensitive ecological destination, which is Ireland's answer really to the subtropics. It's got its own microclimate here, and whether you do trips walking in the hills, trekking in the hills, or you go out onto the sea and indeed underwater, this is a very, very special place. And as a representative of the area, we're very proud of our eco credentials here.
I'm always telling a lot of the advisors that, you know, because I have 4 boys, and for many years in January, I used to go climbing the Purple Mountain, but they would be crisp. Sometimes it wasn't even cold. It was just crisp.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, all the way through into January, you know, we've lots of flowering plants that continue to flower. And of course, Derrynane would really be the jewel in the crown here. The subtropical gardens there. You're going into areas looking at subtropical plants from, you know, the Pacific Islands, from New Zealand, also from South America, which, because there's no frost really here, they survive. And it really is like going over to places like the Azores or down further south into the Atlantic. So it's just a gorgeous example of the different types of climates, and in particular microclimates that we have here. So this is a great place to explore at all times of the year. I mean, if you're into storms, well, then obviously come down in January, February, March, because we get absolutely hammered by huge Atlantic storms, and the power of the sea is just something to behold.
Brilliant. It really is an all-year-round destination, though, and you've got a variety of places to stay. Like you're beside Park Nasilla there, but like Clare, Killarney, you know, there's always somewhere. That's
superb accommodation, absolutely, and everything, you know, from 5 stars right down to accommodation, you know, for couples. And you know, we would specialize really in doing things like you know, I play music, for instance. We do traditional music, so we do a lot of kind of very bespoke small weddings for couples in humanist ceremonies, and some of the locations are just outstanding. If you go walking, for instance, here, you can go walking and then you can end up in a trad session in a pub, sampling Guinness, eating local seafood. They're great experiences. You can learn, for instance, how to cook traditional food all the way through the centuries with, for instance, my partner here who runs a Skellig Coast Kitchen. Skellig's is just if you like, the jewel in the crown in the context of a place that you can visit, a very spiritual place that has connections all the way back to the 6th century. But even before that, back in Neolithic times, 3,000-4,000 years ago, there's so many structures to visit. There's stone forts like Skellig, but off the beaten track structures that people wouldn't even get to see, including things like, you know, even 350 years ago, the way they kept the time around here was some of the local farmers carved out sundials in rocks, and there's just some amazing things to really experience here.
Brilliant. And we're not going to get to see Skellig, Michael, then, are we, Vincent?
Well, actually, it's closed this year, but the thing about it is that the area now, a lot of people go on boat trips around the Skelligs, but in fact, there's so many islands dotted around this place that one of the kind of the jewels in the crown that's really coming up is the bull rock, the bull and the cow and the calf. And the bull has a tunnel through it, and you can go through that on a boat, and it is known as the gateway to the underworld. So this is where, when your soul departed your body, it traveled through this arch, and then it went into the underworld. And it's an absolute jewel in the crown. So like from that trip alone, you can actually see Skelligs. If you want to do the Skelligs, you can go around that. It's much more difficult, of course, to land on the Skelligs now because of the pandemic, but also because, you know, numbers are restricted. So there are very many alternatives. And of course, if people are into angling, you can go angling for salmon on the local lakes here. There's just plenty to do, really. It really is one of Ireland's last wild places.
You're muted, Siobhan.
Can we see just a bit of a panoramic view there, just to give a sense of place?
And then I have a video of Skellig in a minute.
Sure. Okay. So where I am at the moment is we're just steaming into Park Nasilla and also to the oyster bed, and I'm aboard a boat operated by my good friend Noel from Sunfish Explorer. So this is just Park Nasilla and the islands.
And we couldn't have picked a better day.
It's fantastic. It really is.
I think you've got a bit of sunburn there.
Listen, I'll be going back in now to a to get out of the sun. It's actually so warm. It's really beautiful. So I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present here, especially live. I just think it's fantastic with technology nowadays that we can achieve stuff like this very, very handily.
Yeah. Well, it gives people a real idea of what a place looks like. You know, you can look at a video, you can look at a photo, but when you see it live, it just, you know, it embeds it in your memory forever. So thanks a million, Vincent. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Just gonna get the video now on, Siobhan. It's about 5 minutes. If it works. Oh.
Skellig Islands, also known as Planet Actu from Star Wars, are 2 small islands off mainland Ireland. This is where Luke Skywalker's home was filmed in Episode 7 and 8. Skellig Michael sits a little over 7 miles west of mainland Ireland. Founded around the 6th century, the place has been a refuge where people retreated to connect with the divine. Luke's home is based off the real Christian monastery that is found at the top of the island. "670 steps built into the rock lead up to the monastery. These are the same stairs Ray climbs up in The Force Awakens to meet Luke. The monastic site is built on a terraced shelf 600 feet above sea level. It's at the very top of these where the monks use dry stone construction methods to create different levels of terraces to establish the monastery. These walls also provided shelter from the winds and are what helped create the microclimate, which facilitated the growth of their gardens, which allowed vegetables to grow at twice the speed of mainland sites. The name Skellig derives from Skellig, which means a steep rock. Around 1044 AD, the monastery on the island was dedicated to Saint Michael the Archangel. It contains 6 dry stone beehive huts. These huts were round on the outside and rectangular on the inside. They were built this way so not a drop of rain could ever enter between the stones. It is estimated that no more than 12 monks lived here at one time. A hermit also lived on the south peak. A carefully engineered system was also created for collecting and purifying the water. Despite the isolation of the location, it was sophisticated and showed how the monks managed to deal with a hostile environment. Stone crosses and slabs are also found, as well as a cemetery and a garden. A medieval church was built later. Their diet consisted of vegetables and fish, and the meat and eggs of birds nesting on the island were crucial for survival. The monks would descend the 670 steps early every morning and fish for breakfast, and the rest of the day consisted of praying in the church, studying, and working on their gardens. Puffins visit in late spring for a few months. It is at this time they breed and fatten their chicks with the available food found in the Atlantic Ocean. In fact, the pork seen in Episode 8 are based on the puffins that live on Skellig Michael. The director of Episode 8, Ryan Johnson, stated that the inspiration for these came while on location scout at Skellig Michael. Skellig Michael was attacked by Vikings several times. In 823 AD, one of the monks was taken captive and carried off the island to be left to starve to death. The monastery remained occupied until around the 12th century. During this time, the climate around Skellig Michael became colder and more prone to storms. And during the change of the structure of the Irish church prompted the community to abandon the island and move to the church off the Kerry Peninsula. Skellig Michael became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1996. During the summer season, 4 boat licenses are granted to bring tourists to the island, up to 12 people per boat a day. Everything is weather permitting, since the islands get hit by massive storms, often preventing people from getting onto the island. Because of that, there were big restrictions while filming Star Wars Episode 8. In fact, they reconstructed a similar set to the one found at the top of Skellig Michael on the coast of Ireland's cliffs. This was done to help preserve the site. Little Skellig, the next island over, contains the second biggest gannet bird colony in the world. With almost 30,000 pairs of birds, Little Skellig is close to the public as a sanctuary for birds. The very nature of these islands provides safety where they can nest and rear their young, with the Atlantic Ocean providing rich feeding grounds whilst making access difficult for humans and keeping the islands free from predators. The extreme remoteness of Skellig Islands makes it one of the hardest places in the world to visit and allows it to be one of the most unique places in the world. A place at the edge of the map, a place lost in time, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hi, so I'm delighted you all loved that video. I did get a lot of messages that people are finding it hard to log in, so don't worry, we'll be sending out a recording to everyone who was registered, but like the feedback from that video is amazing. The other islands that I love and that clients love sailing around or visiting are the Blasket Islands, which are in near enough to that area as well. So Vincent, do you have anything to add actually on the Blaskets?
Yeah, I mean, the Blaskets themselves, apart from the human history there, are probably one of the most wonderful places to visit in the context of just the wilderness and also access to the old stone houses. Some of them have been restored. It is probably more accessible, of course, throughout the year than Skellig is. And that's because, you know, it's closer to the land. And I think just in terms of ecologically, the birds, the seabirds, the views, it really is just this incredible vista. And when you walk the island and see all of the other Blaskets and turn back towards the mainland, you're really in awe. It's just really spiritual. I think you can get this feeling of having been there before, and you get this connection with ancients that you don't really get in other places that I've traveled, for instance, in the world. You know, I think Blaskets has it, and really the west coast of Ireland, if I'm honest. This is what I love about being here and living here, is that connection to our past.
Yeah, but also the southwest, like when you're looking at, you know, Cape Clare and other places, and, you know, northwest up Donegal, like there is so much. Like I always think sometimes people think they know Ireland, but they don't really. It really is a destination you visit a second, third, or fourth time, and it's a completely different experience every time.
I agree. I really believe that this idea of slow tourism, like that's the thing, is that we're really trying to achieve down here is to get people to stay longer so that they can really get into the locality, meet the locals, experience the culture. And it might, as you said, it might take 2 or 3 trips, and you might visit, you know, Donegal or back down to West Cork or even into the interior. And you're just going to have a different experience each time. But the one thing that keeps it all together for everybody, and certainly the people that I bring around, is just that lovely Irish warm welcome. We just love you to come over here, and we love to show off our place and give you the best experience ever.
And it's also being adopted by the locals. Like we heard from Seamus and we heard from Celia, like the local people on these islands will adopt you. You'll be their new best friend, you know, they'll introduce you to everyone.
They do. It's fantastic. It's like the buzz, when you go to a trad session in a pub, everybody is so happy and up and everybody's talking, and it doesn't matter who you are, you just fit in and it's great. So you come away on a high, and you come away on a high from all of these island experiences. In fact, I have the luxury of being, I had my honeymoon on the Aran Islands, which was fantastic, best experience I ever had. And I was Irish,
Yeah. It is good. And the other thing is the topography of Ireland changes I'd say every 30 minutes, but definitely every 45 minutes. Like if you're driving from Dublin down the east coast, between Wicklow, the Garden of Ireland, between Wexford, Cork, Kerry, it changes all the time. Like it really is a wealth of, countryside and nature and amazing. Just a few questions coming in. Where would you recommend people take the boat from if they're going to the Blaskets?
So the Blaskets from Countra or Ventry, that's one of the shortest routes. You can go from Donegal, of course. It's a little bit longer, and you really have to pick the day. I mean, once you hit the Atlantic swell, my recommendation there is that you wear the bracelets for seasickness, or take seasickness tablets before that. But it really is, once you get off, then you're in paradise. So those two spots really, they're the closest.
Fantastic. So we're going to leave you there because we're going to go back up to Cork on the Aran Islands, and we're going to meet Jenny and David, and they're going to tell us what they do with seaweed.
Thank you.
Thanks a million, Vincent. So, Gio, I don't think you need to show the map since we were there already. And there's Cork, and its sun is still shining.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Inishcoo and the Aran Islands. So we're on the other side of the island now from where we are earlier. We're in the beautiful Kilmurvey Bay here. So you'll see the lovely beach. The tide is almost at full tide. Right in the kind of towards the west end of the island. It's actually probably one of the first bays that you'll meet if you ever decide to row across the Atlantic, if you don't feel like taking a flight over. But it's in a beautiful scenic location. So we're now going to shortly meet Jenny and Dave. Jenny is a native of Inishcoo here. She comes from a family involved in seaweed harvesting for many generations, and her husband Dave is from New Zealand. So from one side of the world, he's gone from a slightly bigger island to the small island here we have of Inishcoo. So we're going to meet him in a few minutes. But here's a short video, Gio, of the story that Jenny and Dave have to tell, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
There's something very special about living on this island. The opportunity came for myself and Dave, living over in New Zealand at the time. We already had thoughts of coming home and wanting to bring the kids up in this kind of an environment. And Dad said, well, would you consider the seaweed business? Bláthnamára hand harvest wild seaweed out here on Inishcoo. Dave is the one that I put in the water to snorkel for it, so he dives down and cuts it again by hand and brings it up to me in the boat. Primarily, our main focus for harvest would be our dillisk, our kelps, particularly our Laminaria digitata, and then sea spaghetti or your sea lettuce as well. I think people are beginning to understand that seaweed's not just what you put in your bath or that you go and have a seaweed face mask, but that it's actually something that you can introduce into your everyday diet. Boise Scawara have been a primary support of Bláthnamára over the years, both my father's time and our time today. And the Flag West scheme allowed our business to double our capacity in production. It has given us the processing facility that we have now, and without that, our business couldn't have survived. Being able to return to Aran and to inherit this business from my dad, to grow this business with my husband, and to remain here is just bringing our dreams alive.
So anyway, we're here now with Jenny and Dave, who you met on the video there. So Jenny, tell us, how did you start, or tell us a little bit about the business Bláthnamára?
Well, I think I was talking a little bit about it on that little video. Dad started the business about 20 years ago. Seaweed harvesting is an activity that's always existed here on the island. It's been a source of food. It's also been a way of cultivating our soil and actually creating some soil on the island. So it's always been part of the lifestyle. Dad turned a bit of a passion and an interest into a business, as I said, those years ago, and started to develop a very small range of seaweed products that were more focused on food. So about 6 years ago now, Dave and I decided to move back to Aran and join Dad. What we saw was a great opportunity with an Indigenous Irish food being seaweed. But the one thing we thought was missing was, people love the idea of eating seaweed, but they don't always necessarily know how to. And we actually have developed a range of products now that actually shows them, I suppose, how versatile and how diverse seaweed actually is, and how useful it is in the diet.
And of course, it's a superfood, so it's very healthy for anybody that that has it, and it should be, I suppose, part of people's diet, because it would have been our ancestors very much part of their diet. So tell us, Dave, what was it like to move from a slightly bigger island to Inishmore?
It's just I suppose it was a big change, maybe that old shed there was probably built before the first Pacific people ever set foot in New Zealand. So, that just coming to terms with the history and, Donegal, where you were earlier on, there wasn't a person living in the country. It was just birds and seals, so
yeah,
it's a bit to get used to.
Yeah. But I guess, you had a marine biology background.
I did, yeah. So, Mochi and Jenny's father was quite happy there. So to get us both over and get us involved.
Yeah, brilliant. So guys, when you come to the island here, what Jenny and Dave, as well as their very successful food business and seaweed harvesting, they've developed a range of food products. But with Adams and Butler's clients for the last 2 years now, they've converted a little storehouse. So it was a place where you would have stored a little shop, I suppose, from back in many years ago, and the family, and they've converted it into a dining experience. So you can eat al fresco like we are here, or we will be once this virtual is over. You can eat al fresco, or you can eat inside. And winter tourism is hugely important here, and it's so possible because you can access the island by the flight or by the ferry 364 days a year. So they have converted this little outhouse into a really cozy, like an Irish kitchen. You can imagine going into an Irish kitchen, and they serve all the products here. So Jenny, maybe tell us a little bit about what we have here.
Yeah, so this gives a little sort of a mini example, if you like, of what we would typically do in our little store. But what it's actually showcasing is, as I said before, how diverse seaweed can actually be and how versatile and useful it is. But actually everything you're looking at here today is all products from Aran. So we've got our Aran goat's cheese, our Aran crab. Here we have a smoked mackerel pate. So we use Irish mackerel, Irish cream cheese, and of course our Aran Island seaweed. So smoked mackerel pate with some potato bread. We've got our seaweed pesto, which is a lovely fresh pesto with smoked salmon. We've got our aioli with the Aran Islands crab meat, and we've got the goat's cheese, which is just made down the road here by my cousin, which is using our dillisk as well. So there's an example of 4 very simple plates that all have seaweed in them. So full of goodness, lovely and fresh, and a real taste of the Aran Islands.
Great. So that's just a taste, I suppose, of what you can get here when you come over. And of course, the island as well has a lot of entertainers. So there's Shanos dancers, which is the old style traditional dancing. There's singers, there's musicians. So while you're feasting on this absolute beautiful seafood, you can be listening to the culture and the heritage, and the history of the island as well. So between Jenny and Dave, and between Angus and the off-road experience, which will bring you to those hidden locations that we mentioned earlier, we're going to sign off from here, but of course we welcome any questions. And as I said earlier, the Aran Islands are open, and from next week onwards, if you have anybody coming over through Siobhan and Rachel and all the team at Adams and Butler, we'd love to see you here. So slán go fóill as Inishmore.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thanks a million, Warwick. Thanks a million to Jenny and David too. This is fantastic. So I'm glad you all enjoyed it. It's great to showcase an area and areas that you mightn't necessarily be familiar with, so that you see how much there is to offer. And hopefully you'll all start booking soon. We had our first clients traveling at the moment up in Northern Ireland, which is great. traveling at this moment, literally. And then we've clients for Ireland coming in July onwards. So if there's any questions, please let us know. A recording will be sent out. We did have some issues, people trying to connect. They said the ID was wrong. So everyone who's registered will get a recording. And Giovanna, next week, Rachel, it's wellness in Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Wellness in Ireland. So we'll be visiting some lovely properties and destinations, and we'll see what Ireland has to offer for wellness.
Fantastic. So thanks a million, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next week at the same time. And thank you to all our presenters as well, and then to Gio and Rachel on the Adams and Butler side.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Mark to do a few shots now.